Well, someone did predict this, but you know what's not so good are the banks. Banks are still struggling hard. Just a week after JP Morgan and 10 other banks deposited $30 billion into First Republic, they are still suffering. They sold off 47% today. They seem like they can't be saved. That is why JP Morgan is advising them on strategic alternatives, including capital raise. What that really means is that JP Morgan is advising them how to go bankrupt and how to sell themselves for pennies on the dollar. One of the two. Okay, because at this point, they have lost the faith of the people, of the investors. It is on a downward spiral right now, and it is not looking good. It's not looking good. Did the bullet get dodged? I mean, the National Bank of Switzerland just gave them a $54 billion injection. That seems to have gone away, right? This morning it was reported like $13 billion of bonds disappeared. I mean, all this money just disappeared left and right. Let's not forget the inflation it's going to hit the people of Switzerland pretty soon. But here's the irony. You know, just 5 years ago, the CTO then called Bitcoin a giant bubble. Did not like Bitcoin at all. You can't just mint, trillions out of thin air with Bitcoin. You can't, right? Unlike all these banks that are highly leveraged, overplayed their hand, and now they're all asking for bailouts because they're deemed too big to fail. $300 billion within the last 2 weeks, okay, got printed out of thin air, and this was basically given to banks and the FDIC. So today he mentioned about like $170 billion or $180 billion that was given to FDIC because they needed it. And then the rest probably went into the banks that needed it too. They didn't disclose which banks needed the money, but where did this money come from? Well, that's something that he does not discuss during these Q&A sessions. No one asked him about it. I think they're prohibited from asking him about it, right? But you know what? Let me show you guys something. We don't need to ask him about it because he already stated where the money's coming from. This was a 60-minute interview, I believe, from a couple years ago, about 2 years ago. All right, so listen to what Powell said about where the money comes from.
Say you simply flooded the system with money.
Yes, we did. That's another way to think about it. We did.
Where does it come from? Do you just print it?
We print it digitally. So we as a central bank, we have the ability to create money digitally, and we do that by buying treasury bills or bonds or other government guaranteed securities, and that actually increases the money supply. We also print actual currency, and we distribute that through the Federal Reserve banks.
CZ made an interesting comment tonight. Every decade or so, the same banks fail. We keep them alive, then repeat. More costly each time. Meanwhile, it is incredibly difficult for new banks to be approved to enter the market to compete. New banks are also required to operate in exactly the same way as the old failing ones. Free market? ? It does make you wonder, though. You have all the rules and regulations in place, so as a newcomer in the space, you have to follow the same rules and regulations, which could be quite cumbersome and very difficult. Yet, despite everything that's in place, you still have banks that go under. Why is that? Because you can't have enough rules and regulation to regulate and control greed. Greed of the banks, leverage, the highly leveraged positions that the banks have. You can't do it. Before I move on, I want to talk about privacy really quick. Are you concerned about your internet activity being monitored? Or are you concerned that centralized exchanges are tracking your location through your IP? If so, and you want to keep your activity and location private, then check out NordVPN. NordVPN helps protect your online privacy and security through their virtual private network spread across the world. Using NordVPN, you can hide your IP address, encrypt your internet connection, shielding your digital life from prying eyes like internet service providers, network administrators, crypto exchanges, and even from the government. NordVPN uses military-grade encryption and has a strict no-log policy to keep your data safe from hackers and cyber criminals. Plus, with over 5,000 servers in 59 countries, you can easily access the internet anywhere in the world while being protected. Whether you're at home or on the go, NordVPN has you covered. If you want to learn more about NordVPN, check out the URL in the description of this video. This was brought to my attention this morning. Some of you guys may have noticed the number 6 altcoin on CMC, XRP, is pumping. And the reason for that is because of my very educational video that I rarely show, but when I do, XRP pumps up to the moon. Okay, so that's reason number 1. Reason number 2 is there were some favorable, or maybe just one, I don't know how many came out today, some favorable court rulings that definitely helped Ripple in their case against Gary Gensler and the SEC. So, what are those cases? One came not from today, but from before, where the judge excluded one of the witnesses, the expert witnesses from the SEC. And that guy was the one that basically established the rules on what is a security and what's not. But today, guess what? Voyager is also helping Ripple's case because the SEC, they may have slipped up. The SEC may have slipped up big time. We know that Voyager went under. Binance.us is trying to buy Voyager, okay? And the SEC protested. They said, no, they can't buy them.